If the relationship is really good, they naturally want to change for you. If you want to fight domination, be prepared that things will get worse before they get better. Any dark behavior can only flourish when there is darkness. Today we have something different. I see some familiar faces. Some people have been coming regularly, so they would know what's different. For people who are new, uh, like they don't even have anything to compare it to. So now, in the first three sessions, I discussed in each session some principle, right? And if I give you a quick recap, the first one was about how in a good life you need functional existence plus also a good internal experience. And for that, you need knowledge and wisdom. And for wisdom, I ultimately ended up giving this one principle where you're constantly thinking about where you could be wrong. And I gave that activity too. And so that was the first one. In the second one, because of the COVID pandemic times, I discussed how you can deal with these times better, find some mental peace and sanity. And for that, the principle was that being able to determine what's in your control and what's out of your control, right? And when it's out of your control, you make peace with it. When it's in your control, then you take your action and then let it go. So that was the second one. And in this one, and in the last one, I talked about how the human experience, especially human suffering, it supersedes. It's more important than any other material things or fictitious things. So people who have not joined in the previous ones, please go ahead and you can go to our YouTube channel. The videos for first two sessions are out. You guys can go watch it. For the third one, it's going to come out soon. So all of these sessions will be, of course, uploaded. Okay. So those three sessions, I came in with my own agenda, in a way, my own thought, and I gave some key principles. And I did answer questions, but they were still along the lines of the topic that I had brought in. But today, what I want is a complete free flow. You guys have been following me in some way or another, whether it's videos and or Instagram or somewhere. And today, you can think of today's session like a free counseling session, a public counseling session. Whatever is in your mind, whatever is bothering you, your unique problem, as long as it's related to mental health, life, in some form related to psychology, then I would do my best to answer those questions. So you don't have to hold back. It could be anything, right? And but one condition here is whoever comes to ask questions, they have to come online. They have to come on the video. And I must tell everybody that all of this, the questions and of course the answers will be uploaded publicly. So only share the information which you're comfortable in sharing and which is out there, which is going to be out there in the public. Okay, so today's session will be started off with Akhil. Okay, hi Akhil.
Hi, Sridhar. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back.
Yeah. So my question is how to deal with people who are too adamant and not willing to change.
Okay, so you don't have to give us names, but could you give an example of what kind of adamant behavior did you see? And I would be doing these online meetings with you all regularly for some time. If you wish to attend these meetings live on Zoom, save the details. If you need reminders, we also send invitations to you personally on email and Telegram app. To get reminders, do the following.
They're not considerate enough about your feelings or your difficulties, and they're very set in their agenda that they are not going to change. This is how I'm going to be. It is you who has to change. If you want to change, if you want to be with us, change or not.
And can you give?
So they're very clear on their side.
So they're very clear on their side. They'll do whatever they want. They're not considering you. Could you give a real life example of where you face something like this? If you can share, that makes it more clear.
I don't want to give more details.
Okay. So all right. Because
so my question is anyway, they're not going to change. So I'm suffering.
Actually, the reason I ask usually for details is because you have to understand what they're adamant about. See, the thing is, if this is something very, very important to them and it's something good, if it's their truth, then people will be adamant about those things. But if something is small and they should consider, so without the issue on which they are adamant about, it's hard to say.
Okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. It's not that a big deal. It's a very simple thing, and trivial things in general, trivial things, which will bother you for a long time.
Well, with that information, I'll still try to give some answer. But before that, if somebody wants to answer that too, because actually these hands are raised for asking questions. So if you're on my screen, if you want to answer that question, you can also raise the hand like this, and maybe I'll get your opinion too. So if you have an opinion, raise a hand like this. So my answer here would be that any relationship, ultimately, it comes down to what, especially in terms of this, what you just talked about, compromise or being adamant. It's a reciprocation, right? And it's an ongoing flow of how much will you sacrifice or how much will you compromise versus how much the other person will compromise. So first question is, are you sure the other person is not thinking the same about you? Are you sure the other person is also thinking, Akhil could be also very adamant? What do you think? What is their opinion of you? I want to ask you, Akhil.
They do think to some extent, but from my side, whatever compromise I'm able to do, I'm doing my best. Honestly.
And from their side, do you think they are doing their best?
I don't think so.
So you mean to say if I ask that person right now, they'll say, "Oh, I'm not doing my best."
They're not ready to agree.
No, that's not the question. I'm saying if I ask that person, okay, are you doing your best? What will they say?
They will think they're doing the best, but it is not the best.
So yeah. And then they can also say, okay, Akhil thinks he's doing the best, but it's not the best, right? Where I'm getting with this is that the objective analysis of who's actually adamant, it becomes very difficult because everybody thinks they're doing their best. Everybody thinks I have the best intentions and I'm trying to do everything in my power and I'm the most reasonable person, and the other one is not. And the other one is thinking the same. So what I'm asking you is, before we talk about that, let's talk about you also. If I ask that one person, what is Akhil adamant about? What do you think they would say? Like, what do you think you are adamant about?
They would be thinking that he's not adapting to our situation. He's not willing to adapt.
And that's exactly what you said, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm getting...
But I'm telling you, I'm making all the compromises.
So this is what happens, by the way, in counseling sessions also. Like when you hear one side of the story, and because, but I'll still give you some answers here, but I'm just telling you that sometimes the deeper problem here is simply a matter of perception, which is, and I'm not saying that you're not doing your best. You genuinely are, and that's what you believe. But I'm just saying that when external people come and watch this, they'll also say, oh, you know what, you're also mistaken there. That other person is mistaken.
So no, my conclusion is based on the repeated situation. Same situation is repeated again and again. So that's how I'm able to conclude that they're not really interested to change. So I'm okay with that. I want to make sure I don't suffer. So how should I change my attitude and how should I adapt? Given all the scenarios where I can't expect anymore, but there is a point till where you can compromise, right? After that, you will find it difficult. But I want to pass that also. I want to pass that also and still not suffer. So my intention is how to avoid how to overcome the scenario. I'm not expecting them to change or the situation to change. I'm past that. I'm concentrating on myself. How I should. What should.
Well, again, without the issue, it will be hard for me to tell. But still, in the general answer that I'll give here is.
Yeah, general answer.
So the general answer here would be, you just draw very clear boundaries. And so if I take an example on my own, let's say somebody is making the noise in the other room, right? And that is affecting me. Now they're not ready to change, but it's affecting me. Then you have to and if the issue is very serious with you, which is, let's say you have to sleep, and the other person is making the noise, then what do? then you have to put your foot down. Because if the issue is really important, it's affecting you significantly, then you don't let it go until you come to a genuine compromise. So the idea here is you have to see how significantly it's affecting you. If it's a little thing, small thing, and if it affects you little, happens in relationship. You cannot fix everything. Sometimes you have to put up with problematic things. You will not get a perfect environment ever with other people. But if something is really important to you and is affecting you really bad, then you leave everything aside and say, you know what, I'm not moving on. Then you're like, okay, I have to put my foot down until this issue is resolved. This relationship comes at a status quo, and we have to find some middle ground. So it depends on the intensity you push for it, because here I am assuming that it's genuinely affecting you and it's genuinely a mistake on their side. This is my assumption, because you're the one asking, right? So depending on how it's important to you, you push back. Okay.
So what if you have reached a point where you don't want to push anymore and you don't want to talk?
But then
you don't even want to ask for a change from their side.
Well, in that case, then the way would be to then go to ultra acceptance. Now, again, is this issue morally, internally, like environment related, like I just mentioned, like somebody making a noise?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So in that case, you have to find some way to draw boundaries, even if that means literally drawing boundaries or sometimes leaving. Now, leaving is usually, if it's a family member, then it's not an option because it gets very, very difficult. But in these cases, you have to continue to talk to them. Then you can't let it go. See, there is no miracle out there which will where you can just say, I hope the other person changes. It just doesn't work like that. Usually it starts with, if the relationship is really good, they naturally want to change for you because they care for you, right? If the relationship is there, if the attachment and bond is there, if you ask, you know what, this is troubling me, please consider, they will. But as usually the relationships deteriorate, willingness to change also goes down. So that is another thing. And the final thing is, if the relationship completely breaks down, then you can find ways to simply draw boundaries, separate. So again, sorry, Akhil, without the issue, I would not be able to say more because I'm here trying to guess what it could be. So if you could have given some example, then I might have been able to say something better. But again, this is the best I can say. Okay, largely two principles would be: make sure the relationships remains very, very good and positive, because the more love there is in the relationship, the more ability you would have to actually change the other person. So love really matters. And the second is, if the issue is really important, you completely continue to stand up for yourself. So yeah, that's what I would say. All right. Next, let's go to Sheetal.
Yeah. Hi, Sridhar.
Hi.
Yeah. So my question is regarding the second issue, which we discussed in the second session, which is like the worry part, like you actually do some concrete measures and the worry about that thing. So this is regarding like the worry. I was able to handle worry in normal situations, like when something is troubling. But there is this situation which is like my mom is hospitalized for COVID since a few days, and there's this constant worry. Like we have been doing all things possible that we can do, but still there is this worry, and the pain is too deep rooted, and it's not. I mean, any concrete measure and any concrete steps, you're not able to handle it. So how does this thing work when the issue is something so close to the heart? And
Before I say something, would somebody like to say something about it? If I'll always ask, if somebody wants to share, please go ahead. If not, I'll go. So sometimes the realities that we deal with, like in your case, they are so extreme that it's bound to affect you. So first, let me tell you, I don't even want you to think too much about how do I deal with it. If you're going through some sorrow right now or some uncertainty, because it's so high, because now she's hospitalized and the uncertainty is high. So some effect is very, very natural. So plus the first step would be completely accept your response to this. So that principle would be not just accept circumstances, but accept your response to them as well. because you cannot magically just do something to make this experience better, because our brain is simply not built to handle this level of uncertainty just like that casually. So your response is completely natural. And the way, like I said in those beginning, situations can get bigger and bigger, but ultimately if you want some relief from the pain, if you really want to be relaxed, the same principles will be applied, and what your brain there needs is just a little more exercise on those things. So for example, if the core idea is, once you've done your best, which I discussed there, right, you distinguish between what's in your control, what's out. So in this case with your mom, you know for a fact that her health is right now out of your hands. It's in the hands of the doctors and whoever are the caretakers, primary, the medical caretakers, right? So that thing is taken care of. You know that it's out of your hands. What will happen. And next is, now what can you do? So what's in your control? So what's in your control? We know that when anybody is sick, and this is something that we've known for thousands of years, you can just be there for them, right? Which you already are. You're concerned, you're updated, you want to know. And if there's a chance to meet the person, you'll be there. Can you do anything more than that? No, you cannot. And the concern, the constant concern will of course be there. So I'll give you a small example from something that I went through. So a few months back, my nanny, my grandmom, so she suddenly collapsed, right? And everybody got scared what happened. And those were still COVID times. Now, we had no idea what was going on exactly. It was something to actually do with her sugar levels, but we had no idea until then. So, and they live in Sirsa. Now it's a small city, and immediately the doctors in the Sirsa, they said, take them to a bigger hospital. So my mama, he immediately booked a van and they went to Jaipur. Now I live in Delhi, Noida. So from that side, from Sirsa to Jaipur, they were coming, and we realized that it seemed very serious. So we had no idea. For us, in our mind, it just seemed like life and death. Anything could happen. So all of us thought we had to rush. So from Delhi, we went. And from Gwalior, my other Masi came in. So everybody just came in, right? And there we were. We were at this relative's house, because those were still COVID times. They weren't even allowing us in the hospital. And there was this extra scare that what if she does not have COVID, and because of the hospital, she might get it. So there was this extra scare because she was first put in the COVID ward for the testing. And that really scared us, and things were going really slow. So imagine the uncertainty. She's very, very old. She's in that COVID ward. We don't know what has happened. And also there's this risk of COVID. But all this while we were there at our relative's place in Jaipur, like probably 80 to 90% of the day, we just remained there, had fun, talked, chilled. We were just there, right? But once you're there, once you've done your best, which is found out the best hospitals, talk to the doctors, whatever is needed, you're on track, right? Because everybody will do that. Then we completely allowed ourselves to cut off, and we enjoyed, played games. And thankfully, in 2 to 3 days, she was fine. Just about, we got the news she was fine. Half an hour from that, it started raining, just like a Bollywood movie, I don't know. And then all of us in happiness, we went upstairs and on the roof, and we actually danced in the rain. We sang, like for half an hour, we were just taking a shower in the rain. So it just turned out like that. So it was a good news, of course. But I'm talking about when we did not have the news for like 2 days. If we could have just sat there and mourn it and then grieve and then worry. But would that have helped? No, it wouldn't have. So, and should we have felt guilty? Obviously not. Because please remember that everybody left everything to be there for her and arrange everything that we could. So next thing is that you stay healthy, you stay happy. So whatever is needed, you can be there. So this is what I would say. Right now, you have done your best. She's there, and you can continue with your life, of course, while being tuned in with what's happening. And I'm sharing a personal example because I just wanted to tell you that these things are not just principles that I'm saying. We apply those too, right? And then only I find real value in them, and then only I talk about it with other people. Okay, so these are definitely doable. Sometimes you just need more and more reasons to apply it. So, and this happens even if the world was ending tomorrow, similar principles would apply, because out of your control, in your control, do your best, then let it go, right? So no matter what the problem is. Yeah.
But the worry is more like, have I done the best? Or like we all siblings are just worried about that. Have we done our best? Is there something more to do? And
Well,
is there an end? I mean, we are not sure. Like, I mean, we have done whatever we could at our best knowledge, but we are not sure whether that is it, or we should be doing more, or we are incapable of doing more. I mean, we are not able to get to
is
that
it
point.
possible? Is it possible to do something beyond your knowledge? So you have done everything to your knowledge. So what else can you do? Can you become God right now? Can you just suddenly find a way to come up with magic or miracles? No, you cannot. And the best probably you can do is, again, if there is something to be learned, maybe do that, right? Like what would I do? Like when you take actual interest in what's happening, okay, let's see whatever is going through, whatever she's going through. Sometimes a good idea would be to, and these are general things, like anybody would tell these things, which is sometimes you get a second opinion. And these days we have Google. Some decades back we did not. So whatever the doctor is saying, you can kind of fact check a little bit. Okay, what's really happening? What is this medicine doing? And what is this procedure doing? So you can just be aware of those things, but you really cannot do anything. If you could, you would be a doctor right now, but you're not, because it's in the hands of doctors. So you must know your limitations too, right? That after this point, it's out of my hands. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Sheetal. Next, I'll go to Sophia.
Hello.
Yeah.
I have a request. I can't on my video. So please.
Okay, this is a tough one for me because I did make it a condition, but okay. This one.
We have talked last time, if you
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, I do. I remember. Okay, but maybe Sophia is the only one with the exception here. Okay, no one else. All right.
Thank you, please. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Sridhar, I have many things going on my side recently. And I am becoming lazy recently. I am not interested in anything. Even doing in the household works also. Like I am feeling all lazy.
So and why is that, Sophia? Why are you feeling lazy? What happened?
I don't know. And recently I am feeling very lonely. All about things also going on my side. So I am not interested in anything. So I am not getting why I'm not getting interested. Even my hobbies are also I'm not getting interested in it.
So when did this start to happen? Like how long has it been?
Recently from मैं कुछ दिन ऐसे एक्टिव हो जाती हूँ फिर वापस ये हो जाता है कि नहीं अब नहीं करना है जैसे कोई हाउस होल्ड वर्क भी है थोड़े दिन एक्टिव रहती हूँ फिर वापस वैसी हो जाती हूँ फिर थोड़े से मोटिवेशनल वीडियोस देखती हूँ तो और थोड़ा इंकरेजमेंट आता है कि करना है फिर वापस वैसी हो जाता है पता नहीं क्यों मेरा इंटरेस्ट एक जगह रह नहीं रहा है
And quick questions, are you working right now? Do you have a job or any work?
I am homemaker.
Okay, you're
like
a homemaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
I stay at home. Yeah.
All right. And so currently in your life, in your home, who else is there? So because is it just you or do you have children?
No, we live in a joint family. Recently, my Devrani is out of station. Mom's place. Yeah, now I am alone at home with my kids. My husband at working. Yeah. So
okay.
Recently, I am all alone.
So okay, tell me one thing that you used to enjoy earlier and now you don't. So give me one example.
Like I like painting, but I am not getting interested in it also. 2-3 painting works are also like pending now.
So okay, what we are seeing is, so by the way, again for me, usually it's important to understand where did it start, because usually whether you realize it right now or not, there are some underlying things which are keeping you, holding you back. So you would need to, and people sometimes don't even understand. And this is, by the way, very common. What's happening with you, which is your energy, motivation goes down, but you don't understand why. And usually the answer comes in accumulation of multiple things going wrong, small things going wrong, and that adds up, and then ultimately it kind of brings you down. So my first advice to you would be, on a regular basis, please write things down. Writing is super important. Like, take half an hour each night, sit down with the pen and paper and think about the day. Okay, what are the good things that happened and what are the things that troubled you? Right? Because unless you first figure out what's really going on. So for example, like I was just talking to a friend recently, and she was also feeling very down. She almost had some nervous breakdowns. Now, when I asked her what happened, she's like, no, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. But then I kept questioning and I kept asking. And then what I answered was that she was not feeling good about her work. She was feeling that other people are getting ahead. And then she was not feeling good about the relationship. And when I first asked, first 15 minutes, she said, I don't know. But after questioning, turns out there were multiple big things that were really causing a lot of dissatisfaction in her. And until those deeper things are talked about and they are processed, your overall motivation probably won't come back. So my first recommendation to you would be, do this, write for 30 minutes what's going on with your day. And maybe in future sessions, once you have done some introspection and come up with some things that are bringing you down, maybe we can talk about them. Because in general, I would say there is no overall pill or injection for motivation as such, because technically us human beings, we are motivated because of our inborn desires, because we have to do something, we have to solve some problems, we have to achieve something, we want something. So wants come from within us, they cannot come from outside. But usually what can bring us down is if some thoughts or some circumstances are so overwhelming or so basically unsuitable for you, that your desires probably won't work in the sense that your core desires, which things that like made you happy, they don't anymore because something else has become so dominant. So for you, introspection would be the first one. Okay, so please do that well and keep coming back to it. Maybe in the next Q&A we'll know, by the next Q&A we'll know what's really going on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, Sophia. Okay, next I'll go to Sejal.
Hello, Sridhar.
Hi, Sejal. How are you?
I'm just tuning in today for the first time.
Great.
But I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do. I've been following you since last, I think, if I remember, more than 3 years now. And
wow.
It has helped me a lot. So thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. My question is how to deal with or how to live with a person who is constantly dominating in the family.
Could you give me an example of a domination? Like what kind of domination?
So let's say just a recent example that obviously I know that we are in the COVID situation and we are staying at home. So we have pretty much self-locked down ourselves, but we cannot go out without asking, and we have to take permissions, even if it is very, very important work, even if we are taking all the necessary precautions, wearing double mask, coming home and have a shower or bath, whatever is required, then too we cannot do certain things. So this is just an example, but at present it's COVID, but it can happen with any situation. So yeah. So even if you have your rationales, even if you have your you are ready to reason it for, and that reason is very valid, but still and also, just taking permission every time, or then if you know that if you are not getting yes, then you are lying. I find it very difficult to lie anymore. So so I think you said in your video somewhere, like that when you are living with dominant personality, I think in your first video, I just saw it this morning, you said that, they are like, it's good thing about being dominating person in a house that, sometimes things are getting done, which is, I agree with you. That sometimes, okay, everybody has to do exercise or everybody has to, oil your hair, things like that. It works. I agree. Eat healthy food, it works. But it becomes very difficult when black is black and white is white. It doesn't work always. So, yeah.
For sure. So do you mind me asking your age?
No, I don't. I'm 43.
43. Okay. So it's been about, 25 years since you've been an adult? Yeah.
Yes,
So,
that's
yeah.
correct.
So, and here the core principle is that I say two things. Each adult, just like there are fundamental rights written in the Constitution, each
Yes.
adult has some more rights. In relationships also, a right to disagree, right to not comply. Not comply means being saying no. So the first thing I would say is that once you realize that it's your right to disagree and your right to not comply, then if you do those things, which is disagree and not comply, and the other person gets angry, they get annoyed and they stay upset. So my question is, whose problem is that?
Partly mine as well. I understand where you are going and what you are trying to project. I agree at some extent. Some extent, I'm disagreeing with you.
Yeah, so let's understand that. So what do you agree with? And so I'll just still clarify my point. The point is, if somebody is angry at you or is, because that's what happens in domination, right? How do you think domination persists? It persists through, it persists through negative consequences. So for example, now people in family, most of the time, they don't beat you up as such. They do this through force, through arguments, through shouting, through staying upset, right? You do this, otherwise all of that.
Things.
Huh? Sorry?
Throwing
things. Yeah, throwing things. And of course, in some cases, there is violence too, by the way. Like, yeah, in some cases, there's violence too. So for domination to continue, it has to be some negative consequences that the person brings in, which you are mostly either trying to avoid, that I don't want the mess, or sometimes you're just afraid of it, right? And sometimes you just don't want to deal with it, so you go with the flow with that person. So dominance can only continue because certain things the other person is doing. Now, the moment you disagree with them and the moment you say no and not comply, they bring their full force in. Because they have to make sure that, because if one person starts to question them, or if one person questions once, they know that they can question twice, they can question thrice. And if one person questions, then other will see that, and then what will happen? The house will fall apart and I will lose the dominance. So that's why they come in with extra force to suppress any kind of mutiny or rebellion, right? So those things happen. Now, but now the good thing is, humanity is pretty much similar, whether it's a family or even it's a country. So even in countries, when there is a bad government, and whenever we have seen around the world, when people protest, they come down hard. But when people continue, after a point, it just becomes unsustainable and something has to change. So my first answer here is, if you want to fight domination, be prepared that things will get worse before they get better. They will get worse. So if you're not prepared for that fight, that struggle, you will never be able to come out. And I have seen countless examples where people have taken years and years to come out of it, but they kept trying, and they did. This is about families only. So you wanted to say something?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. And I think when you said that whose problem it is, and I said partly mine, it's because the last point that you've raised, that for any reasons, you just are living in the compromise. There are reasons for that, XYZ reasons, but you just cannot take that step ahead of becoming that protester, for example, if there was consequences in the country. So I know where you are, what you are trying to explain, but I think, maybe I have to work on that side.
This is a matter of, it will come down to a matter of courage, actually, because you have to realize that the other person, and that's the starting point. It's a very crude point, but it must be remembered, the other person cannot kill you. Once you start with that, then everything is good from there. Can they kill you? They cannot. You will survive, right? No matter what happens. So as long as you know that you'll survive, you can continue your fight. So once you know that, it gives you courage. And also remember that it's not a bad thing to compromise, but when you compromise out of fear, then it's problematic, because ultimately, is it a compromise or you're just submissive, or it's for sure going to lead to resentment in you, because that's what happens, right? And that's part of the reason you're asking the question, because it doesn't feel good to be dominated.
Exactly. It's at the, like, you asked me my age. So the age I am now, I just want to live my life, and constantly lying is not my type. So I just want to be honest and live
Exactly.
honest. So yeah, that's what my problem.
So what are the things? So I'm going to leave you with some courage here. Okay. Once you fight for yourself, there are certain things that will happen. That person may stop talking to you for a few days. They may throw things. They may shout. They may give you all kinds of threats that this will happen. You'll get kicked out of the house, and you all kinds of things can happen, right? But please remember, you will survive, and they cannot do much. And once the second thing is, if in their threats or their abuse or anything, if somebody goes beyond a line, please make sure involve other people, because usually crimes or any dark behavior can only flourish when there is darkness, right? Once you put some light on it, once you get other people involved, they have to step back. So this is why, if it gets out of your hands, immediately involve other people. But do not stop until you get to a stage where you say, I'll do it when it makes sense to me. I'll compromise when I want to. I'll say no when I want to. And that is the stage that you have to reach. Okay. And until then, even if you have to go through 6 months of hell, it's fine. In the long run, you're just 43. You probably are 40, 50 years ahead of you. You deserve that happiness too. Okay. So please make sure.
At times you are compromising things because the other person has some problems. So you want to help them, or I may be wrong, I may be not right every time. I'm not saying that nobody is right 100%
of course not.
At any time. But at times you do because of that love, or that you just want to sustain the relationship because of children, whatever the reason is there. But if the person is not realizing that they need help, they are not ready to seek help, what else can you do?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, this will be a tough one, but do try. And
I'm sure it's going to be very difficult.
All right. If you find these videos helpful, you can support me by donating something, anything. Go to www.sridharlifeschool.com/donate. Those who have been contributing, I'm truly grateful for your support. Please continue to do so. Okay. And next I'll go to Parichay.
Hello, Sridhar. Your videos helped me a lot, and I am very regular to your YouTube channel, and that has helped me tremendously. I really want to thank you for that from my heart.
Thanks for sharing.
My question to you is that how do I...
Could you come closer to the mic? I think it's a little...
Sure. Yeah. I just wanted to ask that how should I deal with the very long unemployment phase of my life, which is bringing, which is really killing my confidence and killing my courage to deal with people. Those I clearly see that they are judging me like with my capability of no earning anything right now. And that career break was because of the maternity reasons, and that seems to be very prolonged now. And now the COVID situation since 2 years. So how could I keep my morale up and my, I don't think like positivity is the whole concept here. I don't believe in all those things. I think there should be rational in my thinking, which will help me to cope up with the situation. I really want to seek help in that matter, that how can I keep my morale at a stable position, that yes, something will happen and someday I might knock at the right door for my job and some opportunity would come to me. Yes, I'm trying. I'm not leaving any stone unturned to fetch any opportunity from the market.
And so currently, and so you, let me just summarize the question and the context also. So you first left the job because of maternity, and then ultimately because of the COVID now, it has just extended, right?
Yes.
The period has extended. So overall, how many years have you been unemployed?
Now it's been 6 years, Sridhar.
So it's been 6 years. Okay. And 6 years, you probably never, you thought that for some time I'll take a break and then I'll get back to it.
Yes, I always thought that. Yeah, in between I had very small assignments of like small assignment of teaching for about a semester somewhere in some university, or with some such type of assignment I do here from the home. But there is no there is no on the roll job for me as such.
Okay, so you first must be able to distinguish between some causes here, because here, if you place all the cause on yourself, that because if you take it upon your own shoulders, of course you will feel bad about yourself, right? That why is it not happening? What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Am I not capable enough? Self-doubting your capabilities. So think about this. If I take you and leave you in a jungle right now, would you be able to get a job? No. So would you blame yourself? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. So why I gave that extreme example? Because external environment matters too, right? It's not just in your hands. So when you made the choice of temporarily leaving the job for maternity, that was your choice. And it's a very common choice, actually. So many women make that, and it's sometimes the most needed thing to do, right? And you did it, but then for certain reasons, it got extended. And in this COVID times, of course, everybody is baffled. Most of the people, they are either working too hard or they have no work, right? So it's usually, there's hardly a middle ground here. So now the question is, these current circumstances are out of your hands. Now, your journey ahead would be, please remember that your core skills, your core interests, your core capabilities, your personality are intact. Nothing is going anywhere. But yes, one thing could be that you must be able to start whatever you get. And probably you are already in that mode, right? Like I'll do whatever is next. So as you're saying, you're taking those actions, you're applying everywhere, you're doing those things. Just keep doing that, keep learning. Now here I'm talking about the basic work principles, right? Because again, I am not going to give you fake optimism too. Things will be all right. Things will be all right if we take the right actions. So it's like nature is neutral to us. Whoever takes the right actions, they are likely to get good results. Yes. So what are those right actions? So for you, my recommendation would be, in this time, learn, right? Learn more about things, learn new skills, read books, and just get to know whatever you can about work life. Develop something which is valuable to the society, which is something that you're interested in. And as you keep learning and keep applying, obviously, like you're doing, so you continue to do that, continue to upgrade your skills, and you will find something. Because ultimately, as long as, remember this, if your input to a company is more than what you take, people will take you. It's as simple as that. So if you just have to get to a point where you can offer something to a company, and that's a valuable thing. So yeah. So these are the reasons to be optimistic. So keep your head up, and just remember that the nature is neutral and there's nothing wrong with you here. These are just tough circumstances. Okay. I know this is a general answer, but I just wanted to lay down the key principles for you to keep the hope alive. Because if you keep going, trust me, you'll get somewhere. But if you stop, then nothing happens. So just don't stop. Small actions, even small actions every day, keep taking. Just do something. Send one email, talk to one person, learn one small thing, watch one new video where you can learn something. And it accumulates really well. Okay?
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Next, I'll go to Sri Lekha.
Hi, Sridhar. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Actually, my question is so much like Parichay. I got married in the year 2010. Then I was doing my MSc in Life Sciences. And my husband worked in the Indian Air Force. He is an officer in Indian Air Force. So we get postings in every 2 years. So I could not be able to do anything I did my B.Ed. In last posting, I was teaching as a PGT bio teacher. And right now, I'm pursuing psychology from IGNOU. So
Okay.
I want to ask you if I qualify NET or JRF in psychology after pursuing from IGNOU. Could I be able to do a PhD in a good college?
Oh, that's a field related question. Okay, so I'll tell you whatever I know of it. Of course, net is a good thing. If you get a good score, you get a preference in PhD. And many people consider that, but ultimately, as far as I understand, for PhD, what they look for is not just a net. Obviously, they see that why are you interested in doing it in the relevant field, like basically the supervisor or the person who would be leading it. They want to know, can you add something to their research also? So if you have done good work, if you show them that you have done something here, gained some knowledge here, done some work, and then cleared net 2, then your chances go up. But again, PhD, I don't think it's a straightforward process of you clear it and then you get it. Yes, that is true. If you here I'm talking about the best institutions, but if you go down the second or third level, yes, then it gets easier and easier. So like probably an institution like Amity University, if you've done your net and if you score well, you'll get a PhD program there too. So that's definitely an option. Okay. All right.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm confused. Like I chose psychology because after my marriage, I did B.Ed. Everybody here, all the wives, we don't have any. We cannot pick a job because we have to move in every 2 years. So everybody does here B.Ed so that in every posting we at least get a school. But in some postings we don't get a school also. Right now here we are in a very interior place of Assam, so I couldn't be able to do anything. So that is killing my confidence. I'm not be able to do anything from past 10 years. Like in last posting, I got the opportunity to teach. So how can what I do next after pursuing?
But see, then probably the upside could have been here because of COVID here. Let me tell you this, because earlier people, when they used to travel a lot, they just left their word behind. And now it doesn't have to be that way. Now, because majority companies are working from home. So you actually, if you do something, I know your plans are PhD and those are slightly different, but if you're strictly looking for work, then this is probably the best time that you just travel around the world and you can continue your job. So try to look for specific things. And also remember that in the long run, yes, your plans may pan out, but because right now you feel like doing something, just find something, whatever you can do, some internship. And today, even in the field of psychology, mental health, there are so many new institutions coming up who are taking in more and more people, right? So, and in fact, so many people now I know they're strictly doing online jobs only, full-time online jobs. So get something, do something, involve yourself with something, and that'll open more and more new doors for you, right? So that's what I would recommend. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I'll go to Pavni.
Hi, Sridhar.
Hi, Pavni.
Hi, everyone. So my question is how to come to peace with simply people who are part of family or extended family who don't accept you. Like no matter what you do, like you will be going out of your way to be nice, or maybe sometimes it is too much. But how to come peace with it? Like they don't even have 50% of the reciprocation back, like how to be with that feeling.
So when you say non-acceptance, it means that non-reciprocation, that's what you mean? Or
non-reciprocation, or even not really interested in talking to you, or completely cutting you off, such things.
Well, my first answer would be their loss. So the thing is, in general, I would advise anybody to always value human relationships and always be sensitive to when other person is interested in you, talking to you. So giving that energy back. So because ultimately,
so I would just like to quickly give like the background, what I think they could be, or like they think that sharing photos will give a like nazar, what I mean, like nazar lag jayega, or they don't want to share any details. But I am like, I really don't care. I mean, I do. It doesn't bother me, and I usually share everything. But they don't even want to share their kids, photos or what they do, or because something will happen to them, or like that,
So for
or maybe
that part,
they think that my kid is going to be much better than their kid. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so you have to then differentiate between, is this an overall thing where they're showing this attitude of distance from you, or is it on some specific issues? Because specific issues, like you just mentioned, photo, they can be explained by some thoughts that they have in their mind, some belief systems, like you said, nazar lag jayegi, right? But if this is an overall attitude where they're like, okay, I don't like that person, if you feel an overall disliking, then it's a different issue. Right. So what do you think it is?
It's like some, I think both. I want answers for both. Yeah.
Okay. So for specific issues, you cannot really do much, because it's like each person will have their own unique quirks and idiosyncrasies, where they'll do stupid things, ignorant things, which do not really have a good explanation, but you accept them like they are. But you only accept them when you know deep down they like you, the relationship is good, their intentions are right. And so you can put up with a lot when the relationship is good. But in your case, you're mentioning that there is this other side too, where you're feeling this sense of that there could be some disliking overall. So in those cases, see, it's generally not a good idea to just continue to keep chasing somebody just for approval. But I must also warn everybody here to not go to the other extreme as well, which is completely cut off, let it go, I don't care. Because that's also a mistake. So usually the answer here is always look at relationships on a scale of closeness. Let's say it could be 0, which is nothing, completely indifferent, and 10 is the most amazing relationship, and 0 could also be the most negative one, let's say. Now your relationship would be somewhere between there. So if you could rate it, let's say, okay, I want you to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, where do you think it is in terms of closeness?
So I will just put it there directly. It's my in-laws. So my in-laws love my husband, of course, and he doesn't talk much, but I do the talking. But they're not so happy talking to me. I can sense it. Like it doesn't matter if it's COVID. I do everything for them. I arrange things. They don't simply like it. So when I even call and ask, can I make another online purchase? They're like, no, please don't do that. Please don't do this. Like it really hurts me. In spite of me putting that good energy, why are they so rejective of me? And sometimes I have to lie to them saying, oh, it's not me, it's actually my husband asking me to do this. And they're like, oh then it's okay, I will talk to him, ask him to call me, something like that. Which I feel is like, I feel very bad about it. Like, why? Yeah.
And okay, now I really cannot understand where they're coming from, but we do know certain patterns from society, right? Because I have seen something like that in my own home, where very well-meaning in-laws, they have this template of a daughter-in-law, right? And for a daughter-in-law, somehow they equate giving love to just giving too much freedom, or if we give too much acceptance, then somehow the control will be gone. And maybe that's not happening there, but I'm just saying that sometimes due to some societal structures, or maybe sometimes those in-laws, like my grandmother, she has faced that from her own mother-in-law. So she thinks that must be passed on. Like, you have to stay distant, you have to stay strict. There must be some fear between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. So the moment you say something, it must be done. So there can be all sorts of reasons why they may not choose to engage in the relationship fully. And those reasons are, of course, foolish, because they don't help anybody. And ultimately, like I said in the the last session, whatever culture it is, if you must always prioritize human experience and human suffering, right? So here, what you need to see is step back from it and first of all, dissociate yourself from it. That is it happening because of me? So first of all, do think that are you doing something wrong? Like, are you, if you're making some significant mistake, of course, first goal would be to fix that. But here I'm assuming that that's not happening. You're just making a lot of effort, almost trying to seek the approval, right? Like, why would you not accept me? Why would you not take me in? So in those cases, if somebody's acting like that, it's mostly because of some of limitations in their own thoughts or ignorance in their own thoughts. And that has nothing to do with you. So there you have to ultimately take the step of and also remember, people who hold such thoughts, they find a way to live lonely, miserable lives in some other ways too, which is because if you're going to maintain distance, those beliefs are still with you, and those beliefs are going to apply in other relationships as well to some or other degree. So ultimately, they are entitled to their own life, and let them, they'll have their own design of life. And your goal would be to completely detach yourself from that seeking approval, because ultimately nobody's life is dependent on somebody else's approval. So your goal would be to not chase that as much, because you're not going to get anywhere. And it's a very tricky thing, because the more you feel rejected, the more you want to prove them wrong and you want to do something, because that's how we are, right? We don't like that energy. We don't like knowing somebody out there might not like us, because we are not built like that. We just want to set things right. We just want things to be okay. We want everyone to be happy with us. That's a very natural instinct. But with time, you must realize that people can be very different with very weird and off expectations. So that need that we have to be liked by everybody, or at least approved by everybody, will not be fulfilled ever, ever. And once you make peace with that fact, then the life becomes easier. Okay, you know what? I don't have to chase this. I don't have to play that game of running after somebody. Even if 10%, 20% people in this world don't accept or approve me, or because of my choices or who I am, it's their problem, not mine. So I say that with the caveat that continue to just reflect that you might not be doing something significantly wrong, right? So keep that introspection on and then detach. So that is the balance here. Okay.
Yeah. And for the specific things like people not sharing their stories as much. And I to some extent, I also feel that they also might feel overwhelmed with my sharing maybe. And I don't know, like,
for specific things, I think you will have to let it go, because like I said, each person will have their own quirks. So for example, somebody doesn't want to go out too often, somebody doesn't like to talk too often, somebody doesn't like to share pictures too often. So we all have our own unique quirks socially. So you just accept them, and you should not think too much about it, as long as you know that this is just certain things which is unique to their personality, who they are, right? So all right.
Okay, thank you, Sridhar.
Okay. Next, I'll be going to Triambika.
I want to ask that how do we process grief or death? Yeah.
So just to ask, are you personally going through something like that? Or you're asking generally?
No, like as a part of my internship, I have to design a session.
Oh,
and
okay.
For
so you
like grief related. So I just can't tell them now, like it's going to be all right, or it's a fact that we are mortals. Like how to not say these things directly, and how to be, like able to say these things to people. Yeah.
So I know, so this is a professional question, but still what I'm going to do is I'm still going to say it in a general manner, because even for our profession, we must understand some key principles, right? What happens in grief. So first, I would generally recommend go read a lot more about it, which you probably will, but still I'll give you my some key points. So during these times, anyway, we've heard so many people are going through grief, right? So grief has its own some features, which is like things that you are definitely going through, because ultimately we are humans, we are very similar. Things like even accepting that there is a loss, right? Accepting the fact that, okay, the person is not there anymore. So that acceptance takes time. Then you have to go through emotions. There is so much sadness. So then you have to take time to really allow yourself to feel those emotions for a certain period, because there is no switch inside our mind where we can say, you know what, now I want to get over it and I can. No, because if somebody was close to you and they're not there anymore, then you are going to go through that emotional experience for a long time. Then you adjust to your life without that person. That's also reality, right? Now you were so used to your life was probably entangled with them in many ways. Then you find a way to do that. And finally, even after that other person is gone, you still kind of have this connection in your own mind, right, with that person, because you have memories and you have things that you can look back on. You have stories about that person. So you kind of, even after their passing away, you maintain this relationship with them in your mind. And sometimes when you do that well, process those memories well, they actually help you heal and move on also. So in a typical therapy process, or when you work with somebody, you have to kind of take care of all of these things. How is the person moving along these lines, like adjusting to life, accepting and pain, and then ultimately the connection. And you try to find out what they're going through along these lines and then help them along the process. So this is the broad idea of human experience along during grief. Okay.
So like, if a person is going through this thing right now,
yeah,
so what can we like tell that person? Like,
you first remember that you cannot really tell much, because anything that you say in terms of, oh, I understand this, like you also said, you can't exactly tell them like life is mortal, because they're not here to right now take too much wisdom from you. And if you try to say that, you know what, I understand what you must be going through, they might not feel that you're sincere unless you have actually gone through something like that. So your goal is not to tell, you turn it around. Your goal is to understand them, because each person deals with grief differently. Some people might actually want wisdom. Some people might actually want somebody to listen to. Some people want to be left alone. Some people don't want to deal with it. So your goal would be to ask questions and say, okay, what are you feeling right now? What are your needs right now? What do you want to say? And this is for everybody here, by the way, because when we are talking about, we are facing death and we are talking to people, we are at a loss of words. We don't know what to say. We don't know how to console them, right? And we are saying, okay, what's the right thing? Because we can say the general things like rest in peace, which we share like on messages, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. And those are good things in terms of social etiquette. Okay, you say those things, but technically, when you are with the person talking, then what? When you're actually in a conversation, that time your goal should be to just understand what they are going through, even if it means 3-4 minutes of silence and them crying and not saying anything. Let them say those first words and then you take it from there. Okay? So, all right.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Triambika. Now, okay, I'm not sure what the name is, but it's PKVNS's iPad. Yeah.
My problem is my daughter, who's matured 30 years individual. She's very smart. We have an only daughter. She's outside now since last 10 years for studies, and then now she's abroad on her job. We have a very good relationship, but it's happening again and again that we have to be on a level, like any point we are not up to the standard which she expects us to be, she gets angry on us. She wants us to be always of the perfect parents. So I want to know how to deal with it, if you can help me, how to make her understand that we are also humans and sometimes we come down a notch. Okay. She really gets angry.
What's her age?
31.
Oh, she's 31. Okay. And could you give me an example of things that she typically gets angry at?
They're all small things, very minute, and not like she tells us something about her life, what's going on, then we forget. then we ask her again about it, or we make a wrong assumption of what she told we didn't understand properly. So we go from our understanding is different, and we ask questions from that point of view. Then she says, you didn't listen, you don't follow me,
you don't pay attention.
That is, it looks silly when I'm complaining, but it is becoming a big problem that talking to her, actually, she's an only daughter, we wait for her calls, but it's becoming difficult to deal with it. So it's her problem, so I want to convey to her that how to manage her, like, or if it is something wrong with us, how to deal with it, or how to convey to her that it's okay. She has to accept us as not as that 100% perfect human beings.
Now, see, here I'm assuming that she has her reasons. Like you said, there are some silly reasons where you probably forgot or you made some assumption. Now, it depends on what kinds of assumptions you've been making. So I always say first look into yourself first before we fix somebody else. Because parents also do make mistakes, like when they are saying, they sometimes belittle the things and they have their own agenda. They say their own thing instead of actually giving value and attention to what they're saying. And maybe for her, it has been an accumulation that, okay, she could have the feeling that she is not feeling heard. She's not feeling fully understood. Again, I don't have those answers, what she's really feeling. So my first recommendation to you would be, just go ahead and simply ask her. In these times when a relationship is going south and like basically deteriorating, communication is the key. You have to go tell her whatever you're feeling right now, which is go out there and tell her, like let's say her name is Shweta. Okay, so Shweta, the idea here is that past few conversations, I felt that this happened and then you got angry. And because of that, I'm feeling such and such, like I'm feeling scared to talk to you and I'm losing the pleasure in talking to you. So so you tell her your feelings, what you're going through, and then you ask her, okay, what's happening with you? Why are you angry? And you stay open and curious what she says to that. And when you genuinely with curiosity ask her what's happening, then she'll tell you things like, okay, because children sometimes carry grudges for years and years and decades, and they continue to annoy them or irritate them. So you have to first understand what she's going through, okay? Because if usually what we have to find out is, where is the fault, right? Sometimes the fault is on both sides, sometimes the fault is on one side. So you come with this openness, I am ready to listen to you if I have made any faults. And that opens up a channel of communication, because you're like, okay, I'm open to listening to as opposed to just being defensive. And when that starts, you can also say things like, okay, so I understand that you didn't like it, but I would like it if you could say that nicely. Okay, I would like it. And then once you have listened, you kind of get the right to talk also. But these communications, I must warn you, are difficult, because it's first of all very difficult to genuinely stay curious about what you could be doing wrong without getting defensive. It may sound very easy when I say it, but when you are actually in the conversation, the moment she says a line, you're like, no, I did this because that is. So the person gets immediately defensive. That's why, to genuinely understand what she's going through, that's your first goal. And then secondly, let's say we get to a point, assuming that you are not making any mistake at all, and she just gets angry on her own, which does not happen usually. But if she is, but then you have to be more and more assertive. But that comes later, which is you tell her clearly that when you talk to me, you have to talk to me, or we'll talk less. But that assertiveness and that strength must come later on. The starting point must be open communication.
Communication.
Yeah,
let's air out. I think I have done the first step, so now I should be assertive. I have already communicated. So she understands. She comes back to me saying, I'm sorry, man. But it's becoming more and more. So actually, she genuinely, she shows up with her peers and all. She's very proud of her. She says, I have the best parents. But the best, it should be somewhere. She's expecting more and more perfection. Somewhere we come down. So I talk. See, if she says what is a gossip with my relatives or friends, whatever. If I tell her something on somebody, she judges it so much. How can you talk like that? How can you judge like that? She must be going through something. So she doesn't take anything less. I mean, I might not be telling. I'm also. I too am a certain level, but she's smarter than me. So, as a younger generation, I can't counteract her in word to word while talking. Then later on, I'll be able to. I should have told her this when she said this. I should have talked to her this. Then she would have. If by chance that day I'm able to talk her back, give her a proper, stable answer, then she goes back. But that doesn't happen every time. I feel somewhere she's crossing how much ever the bond is there. As a parent, she's crossing the line, and we are feeling disrespected.
Then so like if she agrees that what she's doing is actually not right, and she's coming back to you apologizing, which means then the problem could be in just her nature and just her emotional regulation, that she's just unable to control her emotions. And in that case, yes, then you go on to things like which you have to talk more specifically about that. Remind her again and again, be assertive. This will not be okay. What you said was not okay. And sometimes simply have the conversation and like, okay, tell me, what will you do next time? And literally ask her, so what will you do next time? Right? So because if you have to tell her that if you don't talk about this with me, there might be less talk next time, because we cannot take this. Ultimately, the bond must be making both of us happy. You cannot become the punching bag for somebody else, right? That you come in and just rant and say anything.
Okay.
Okay, so be very, very clear with that. Okay, all right. So if somebody wishes to go for counseling, there's a link for that. If you're dealing with something severe, and through these sessions, if you're feeling benefited and if you'd like to contribute to our progress, then you can donate something too. And I've shared a link for that too. So just save them. If any day you feel generous, please go ahead. And now I'll take the last question from Hempushp.
My question is very small or something weird. Actually, I have been married since around 7 years. I have a daughter of 5 years old. Me and my parents want second child, but my wife is strictly opposed to it. And we somehow managed counseled her through doctor. My sister is a MD. We take her to the doctor, and everyone, my parents, asking her to have a second baby. We are not financially strong, but I have a government job. I have on my bread and butter, so that's not the financial issue. But she thinks the eventually the money will come into the effect, and it's hard to have a second baby. But I think we family as a thing that we must have a second baby, not just a boy, maybe a girl or a boy. But I think for the well-being of my daughter, she's a 5 years old. She needs the company. She needs somebody, siblings to play with her. So I just want to ask, how should I convince her? Not just for the sake of family, but how should I convince her mind so that she will be happily able to have a second child?
Very tough question. Most probably there will be no good answer to this, but I still have some ideas related to this, and I'll share those. So one thing is that preferences from life. What do you want from life? And especially when it comes to children, these are some very, very big questions, right? Like what kind of a career do you want? What kind of a family do you want? And now for these questions, each person has their own deeper preferences and sometimes even fears. So before I say something, I just want to ask one follow-up thing. When you must have been giving her all kinds of reasons, right? Which is good for the family, there'll be more love. And then you said it's good for the daughter, right? She's 5 years old, she will have some company. And when you give all those reasons, so her reason for saying no is just financial, or is there any other reason?
Just financial reasons, nothing like.
And are you sure about that, that she's sharing fully with you? Like she's being completely honest with you, or there could be something else
Yeah,
deep down?
yes, sir. No, she's completely honest with me. Nothing extra.
Okay,
Nothing.
and so for her, if the financial thing was taken care of, she would have no problem. Definitely, like, and she.
I tried to convince her, like, I am a government servant. I get the tuition fees from my department and nothing like that. And even my parents and my mothers, and we are financially not that much bad, but we are good. We are a good family in living. We have our house. We have our own car. Not, but yeah, there will be nothing like that. We will face the financial crunch for the education of the child, but she thinks that the education is going very high, and very huge amount of money is required to raise a children. Like you say, that nursery fees is bouncing up in lakhs of the rupees. So how we will manage in the due course? I'm trying, me and my parents, and trying to convince her that we will manage. Even the people below our financial, they have a couple of child, they have 2 childs. Even my parents and her parents are already having 3 childs. Yeah, she is the eldest of them, but she is not getting at all convinced that we should have a next baby.
And just to understand this, was this discussed before the marriage or not? How many children are you, like, or?
Typically, it's what that's what you raised the great question. It was discussed before marriage, and I told her that let's have a child, then we will discuss for the next baby. We have a child. Then after 4 years, we have up to 4 years. But now she is totally not convinced of having second child.
So you mean to say before marriage she had said yes to the fact that we will have 2 children?
No, nothing like that. There is no concrete discussion, not concrete discussion.
So that's what I meant to ask actually. Was there a concrete discussion or not? Because, okay, by the way, anybody who's unmarried, so please, I always say these big things, please always talk beforehand, always, because you can get very bad shocks and surprises sometimes, because life preferences can be very different. So I think, I don't know how many unmarried people are here. I think there is Yash. He's probably unmarried. So the idea here is when key decisions, where to live, who to live with, how many members in the family, how many kids will we have pets or not? There are some big decisions of life. They must always be discussed concretely beforehand, whether it's an arranged marriage or a love marriage. Talk more. So that's a general thing, but I know it's too late for you for that. You're already in the situation.
It's arranged marriage.
Oh, it's an arranged marriage. So even in arranged marriage, these questions are super important because you can ask questions like people ask about horoscopes, not these questions. So again, these questions are more important. Now, for you, now you have to remember that it is the way it is. What I would say is that now this is your reality. Please remember, now you married the person, and this person comes with their own pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, goods and bads. So first of all, wherever you are, accept the way it is. So please remember, there are couples out there who don't have children at all. There are people who just have one child, and those children go on to live a good enough life. So this is right now, I'm talking about your internal mind, right? Internally, for you, maybe this may have become the most important thing, because until the second child comes, it doesn't even feel like my family is complete. Like, how can I move on? And maybe you are at that stage right now because you've been trying for so long and you've not been successful. And for you, it may seem like there's something hugely missing here. And there are families who had 2 kids and then one kid died also, right? And I'm trying to give you all other examples so that at least, even with this current situation, you don't feel so bad about your life, because your life is not bad. Even with one child, a happy, healthy child that you have, the life can still be good and amazing for you and for the child too. Okay. Yes, a kid could be a bonus in many forms, but bonus does not mean today what you have is bad. So your starting point should not be, at least for yourself, don't feel too bad about your life. Now, once you accept that reality and actually try to be grateful for what you do have, then we talk about what you want and the next step, which is the second child. Now, what you've been doing before even starting, please remember that for both possibilities that you may fail to. Because when you get into any form of negotiation, if you're not prepared to fail, then you'll probably just disappoint yourself, be more and more frustrated. So even though you are going to talk to her, reason out with her, give her all kinds of good logic, but it may completely fall flat like it has been. And maybe you will never have it. So start with that worst case scenario. Okay, I will never have a second child. That's fine. But okay, now what can I do? So a good idea would be to continue to reason with her. You should not push her too much, and have some deeper discussions about what it makes you feel. And so reason you said, but ultimately you also came in with some dreams of how you wanted your family life to be. And she came in with her own dreams. And now there is a conflict. Now, technically only one can have their own way, right? For her, she probably wanted one child, less responsibility, less financial resource application. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to have a simpler life. For her, 2 kids maybe seems too much. So this is why we have to understand that the vision for one of the persons will not be fulfilled. Somebody has to make the sacrifice, and it could be you, it could be her. It's 50-50, it's equal. There's no way to determine who will make the sacrifice. And sadly, in this case, it may end up being you also. I'm saying sadly because in this case, you kind of don't have a choice, because you cannot force anybody, right? You cannot force her to get pregnant. It's just not possible. So she does have a control on that choice for her body and for her life. So giving all of these realities in mind and continue to good about yourself, keep continuing to talk to her and go deep with how you feel, what you want. So it's like, here, there is one life where you have, let's say, this much amount of money. And let's say 10 lakhs, you're earning 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever the amount is. Now, that money is supposed to do what? That money, and here I'm giving you a logic which you can probably try it with her in some form. So ultimately with money, which she's preferring, you want some sort of security and happiness only, right? A good experience. But what if you reach the end of the life and you say, okay, you know what? I have now this amount of money, but I did not even live my life enough. What did I have the money for? So the logic here is, ultimately, whether it's the money or it's the child, you are just fulfilling desires, and it's one desire over the another. So what you have to tell her is, and probably try to convince her is, that in the long run, fulfilling this desire of parenthood, fulfilling these desire of bonds, probably would be more important than just having some few extra pennies and some extra money in your bank account. And when people look back on things, people cherish the most what? They cherish most the good relationships that they've had, their family, their close friends. That's what you cherish most about your life, not how much money just is in the bank account on which card you have. This is just a general analysis of how people live. So maybe if you could turn her priorities gradually, which is because what she wants from life right now is too much security, maybe like security and just maybe a little more money. And if you could reason with her to maybe shift it towards humans, kids, family, friends, then maybe it will work. Again, nothing is guaranteed to work. I'm just offering you one extra angle probably. And as you go on, you'll try every different angle, obviously, as it may work, it may not work, but do this in the context that I gave you without feeling too bad. Okay. And like I always say, this is out of your control, the final outcome. So be prepared for it and remember that. And she has the right to say no. Just saying, you should not, ultimately, even if she says no, it should not lead to hate in you, because she does have the right to say no. She does have and this will lead to some dissatisfaction, but it does not mean that she's doing something against you. You should not take that personally. She's making choices for herself. So you must just keep that in mind while you're trying. Okay. So I know it was a long multi-dimensional answer, but the situation is such, you really cannot do much here. Okay. All right. Now let's conclude the session. Please join again, and such sessions will continue. Next Saturday, I'll be discussing a new principle, and for that, I'll again give homework. And until then, keep watching my videos, keep trying to apply them, and keep coming back here. Okay. These videos can help you to some degree, but if your problems are really serious or painful, you should come for counseling. We now have a team of psychologists who can help you and your family live a much better life. Here are some feedbacks from our clients. If you wish to take counseling from us, go to our website page www.sridharlifeschool.com/counsel. Click on this link and fill this application form. We will get back to you soon.